How you doing? Ken here. Just a quick update on my leak status. I did a seal around the skimmer last time, and I also dropped the water level of the pond by about an inch or so, and I think that has solved that wall. It's stained but it's not wet, so I think I've solved that problem. However, you can see a bit of a damp patch there, and if you look you can see, and now it doesn't, there is a there, these tend to go. This is the ultra skim from Absolute Koi. That plastic well can go, but I don't think it is. It's coming up over here from what I can see. Now that's a 3-inch pipe, that's a 110mm or a 4-inch, and this is a 4-inch flexible connector, so tightening the 4-inch down onto the 3-inch hasn't been hugely successful. So I'll drain down the ponds when I'm doing my usual bi-weekly clean, and I'll drop that down and have a look. I did get a more suitable 4-inch to 3-inch. However, my recollection is that the gap between these two pipes isn't great. Now I suppose I could cut that. It's a bit of a nuisance. The reason how I got that on was, I think I put that on the skimmer line. The skimmer line is relatively short and just runs into the back here. I put that on and put the skimmer line in place and just slid it up. So listen, I'll take a look. It may be just cleaning it up and tighten it. If there's no damage, I might just get away with it for another while without any major surgery. But I have that one there, just arrived recently. I ordered it on Friday night on Amazon, and it looks a fairly good quality one. It's good and solid. It also means that it doesn't really flex in any way to get into a tight gap. And the leak down here, this one is just doing my head in. I remember the last time I said I Tech 7'd up here. When I dropped the level of the pond to Tech 7, the skimmer, this disappeared. You could see it dry up within an hour, start to dry up. And I also Tech 7 the window on both sides. Couldn't see anything obvious, but decided just to put a thin layer of black Tech 7 on it, because it suggested that when I dropped the level it disappeared, that the problem is up here, and I only dropped the level by a few inches. So I did that, left it for its 24 hours to dry, gave the skimmer a chance to dry as well. I adjusted the overflow so it dropped the overall level of the pond down, and for a week not a bother. Really thought I had it solved. I got up this morning and there we go. It is just head-wrecking. I really don't understand what is causing that. I had a quick look. I'll take a better look now when I drop the level down again. But the Tech 7 I put in last week does look as though it stayed in place. It didn't peel or anything like that. But I don't know. It's really, really a tough one. I just feel you can't really see. That's not the, it is, and it is, you know, it's not soaking wet, but it is wet. And we got no rain either in the last few weeks. It's been an odd bit of drizzle, but certainly nothing. So anyway, what I'm going to do is now I'm going to start doing my water change, and I'll come back to you when I have the level dropped and we can have a closer look at the skimmer. I'll drain out the skimmer as well, just stick the vac down it, just drain the pond level down below the face of the skimmer, and then I'll just stick the vac in and I'll drain out the pipe enough so I can drop that connector down and have a look and see if it is possible to get that new one in. If it is, I'll put it in. I'm just not in the humour of trying to cut a pipe, and it's tight enough there. I do have an electric saw I could potentially use, but it's not something you want to make a mistake on. It really isn't. But anyway, come back to you shortly. Cheers. Right, I'm back. Pond vacked. I also vacked out. Bit of light there. The skimmer line, so I'll be able to drain that. And just to show you over here, that's my trusty second-hand Pond Vac 4, which does a great job. This is, now, I don't know if you can see there, and I don't want to drop the phone. There is a bit of a lip of something there. I don't know what it is. Oh, it feels, now maybe I need to get a bit of Tech 7 in. You can see the Tech 7 I put in, it's peeled a tiny bit, but it's generally fairly okay. So I might just put a bit down there, but the problem is if I leave the water at that level, the drum won't work. I can't, even with the float switch at its lowest point. So I think I'm going to have to do that, give it maybe an hour to get a skim on it and then fill up. It's a bit of a lump there. Now you'll see here there's a line, kind of a line there. When I originally, if you can imagine, the pond was fiberglass without the cappings. The fiberglass went up onto the concrete, then the cappings were put on, and there was this gap of tile cement. So I got the fiberglasser back, and he just fiberglassed up a bit and joined it up, and it was just maybe to look a better finish, and it's held well. And I was wondering for a minute, was there a gap there, but the water has never been up that high, so that's not the problem. And you can see here as well, I was mentioning I'm in a hardish water area, and it's not a very hard water area, it's hardish water, but you can see there that there's a lot of crustacean over or calcification over the pond wall, as you'd kind of expect. And you'd wonder, you know, if there were pinholes or anything like that, you don't think that they'd survive. So what I might do is just clean that down and put a smear of Tech 7 over that and leave it for an hour, but then fill it up, because I don't want to leave. It should be okay. They say, you know, Tech 7 sets. What's that? Oh, that's one of those brown, there's little caps on the screws. I put these little covers in and caps, they're little legs that the you can see one there that the wood sits on, just to stop it sitting directly onto the cappings if it's wet. What I might do as well is drop down the level of the pond. You can see the water level. That's my Tech 7 job, but you didn't get a close. Now it's not the neatest job ever, but you don't see it, so I'm not worried about it. You know, I had the water level up around here, and I think that was part of my problem. And you know, the fish swim by and there's wind or whatever else, and the water can move up and down, and I think it was getting down here and, you know, dripping down around, as you can see there. So I think I'll stop that. I may just drop this down another half an inch, as I said in the last video. If I was doing this again, I would have had the skimmer with the lid on it at the same level as this. What I did was I had it with the lid on it at the same level as my block work, and wasn't thinking about, well, I did think about them, but didn't think it was an issue. You know, so if I was doing it again, you know, it's an inch, it's not the end of the world, but the skimmer probably is set a little bit lower than I would like. And I do have a holder for this phone, but I'll be damned if I can find it, so excuse the fingers. So what I'm going to do now is undo this. Now you can see here there's no movement in that thing, so with one hand, in fact what I'll do is I'm going to cut and I'll come back to you. Right, this isn't actually as bad as I thought. I'm wondering, was this a bit loose? I couldn't move it, but it loosened very easy. And looking at the rubber there, it seems to be in good nick. Now it is a 4-inch, but it has shrunk in there fairly well. I can't get it down because where it shrunk in there is stopping it. Now I could cut it off, but I can sort of feel, if I push it up here, you can see I can't even get to the edge of the pipe. I mean, it should really, if I was going to get it out easily, be over the edge of the upper pipe there. And as I said, my recollection is there's not a big gap, and I probably have to cut the pipe. So what I'm going to do is just tighten that up. You know, I thought initially looking at it that the rubber boot was damaged where it went in there, but it actually looks okay, and I think it might have just worked a little bit loose, and I may get away with it for another while. So I'm going to tighten that up, put it back, and what I'll do is then I'll get the trusty Tech 7 out. This will save for another day and never go to waste, and it will probably be something that needs to be done at some stage. And even the sun is coming out. And then let's have a look at this and see. I'll clean it up with a bit of sponge as best I can, and maybe go down a bit further with that Tech 7. And as I say, let it maybe dry for an hour, and then top up the ponds. And the fishies are all grand. Right, I will be back to you in a sec. I'll tighten that up. Probably not worth going back to that once I tighten it up. I'll just let you know how it goes, but maybe just a pinch of the wrench on that upper Jubilee clip may have solved it. I looking at it, I was feeling that the rubber was damaged, but it ain't, so I'm not too bad. And that's those two rubber connectors, by the way, they're the only ones that are exposed to the elements. All the rest of them are in the filter shed, and they'll obviously last a lot longer. And I know these things, there's various qualities you can get off them, but once they're exposed to the sun and the change in temperatures, they it's tough on them. But that one actually seems to be in pretty good nick, so I'll tighten it up. Back to you shortly. Right, Tech 7 and done. Just to get a bit of light on that. I did notice around here, when I put the Tech 7 on, it seemed to be bubbling a bit, as though there was water coming back out. I don't know if you can see it there, there's a bit of a bubble. I'm just going to let it dry. That doesn't look the neatest, but it ain't going to be seen. It's going to be covered with calcification and algae anyway, but I just sort of dabbed it on and rubbed it, cleaned it down as best I could and dabbed it on. But you can see those couple of little blisters there seem to be, now from what I can see there, it is stopped bubbling. Now maybe the fact the leak, they were covered somewhat, and then it just gave way, and that happened. If anyone has any theories as to why that's happened, I mean, it only makes sense that the leak is up there. You drop the level of the pond, the leak goes away. Stuck a bit of Tech 7 on it, it held for a week. Anyway, it is really doing my head in, and I just think, given where I am at the minute, that getting in and resealing the whole window is probably overkill. And it ain't that easy to do either, because the window was measured fairly accurately, and there's not much of a gap between the fiberglass and the glass to get in at anyway. And trying to clean all the old sealant out of there and put new sealant in is not going to be an easy job. I put this back on as well, so I gave it a good tighten. So let's see where we go. As I say, that was in good nick. I was expecting to see it damaged under the Jubilee clip, and it wasn't. It is nice and tight there. So let's see how long that lasts. That one there is okay. Of course, that's not under constant pressure. That's just the overflow, and you can see my water level is way down there. So listen, I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave that Tech 7 to dry, hopefully get a skin over it at least for the next hour, and then you can see I have my Tech 7 out here. It's the messiest bloody job. I put a towel down just to stop me getting it on the copings, which would be disastrous, and just basically smear it on and with the finger in a glove. But those things aren't great. Once you give it a pump, you know yourself, it just keeps coming. Great if you're doing a large area. If you're doing a small, delicate area, it's a nuisance. Right, as I say, I'll leave it at that. If you have any suggestions as to why that leak isn't at the top of the window, let me know. I'd imagine at the bottom it would be there all the time, and dropping the level of the pond and putting Tech 7 on would have made absolutely no difference. In fact, I know if I left that there now overnight, it should be half dried up in the morning. It's a little bit damp now, so it's not, but I was a couple of hours doing stuff last week, and I could see it. My wife even said it as I dropped the level and was working around. I was sealing the skimmer. You could see it dry up. It was starting from the bottom up, it was starting to dry up. So can't see it there now, and this bit here seems to be, I don't know whether that's just a stain, it doesn't feel damp, but it is sort of disappearing. That may be just a lot of dampness from, no, it's not damp, from the skimmer, I'd say, because that was a fairly constant leak and the whole wall was wet. Oh, anyway, I am now definitely going to leave it from me and all the fishies. Talk to you shortly, cheers.